My grandmother died last week on Wednesday, and I was upset because I wanted to play Sonic Racing Cross Worlds. This is not a bit. This is not like some eighth dimensional satire parody low tier god edit in the background. This is unironically how I felt. And so let's rewind a little bit. My grandma has been in my life for a long time. A long time. And it's funny because she was always sick to a degree. My grandma, and a little bit of, I guess, cultural history to speak into the audience. My grandma was alive and went to school during segregation. She went to school during Jim Crow laws. And so when my mom came around sometime, a couple of decades down the line, she was like the child who had to navigate having someone who dealt with schizophrenia. And so I'm now the second or the third generation down. I'm the first one kind of removed, and I want to say entirely removed, but removed enough to where I can sit back and I can acknowledge everything and look at things from an objective standpoint. My grandma did the best she could. I vividly remember calling her and seeing her and watching her condition kind of go downhill in real time. It was probably around the time I was in my junior year of high school where in the back of my head, I knew she was diagnosed with cancer way back in like 2015, or not even 2015. This is like 2013. And I got to watch her beat it for the first time. And watching that was an experience, the secrecy, talking about things and trying to talk around topics of like, hey, you're fighting something that could potentially get you. And so she won and we were happy, we were celebrating. And in my junior year of high school, we got together for her 70th. And interesting fun fact is that she shares her birthday with Obama. So if I ever forgot what day her birthday was, I would just open up Twitter and I would see happy birthday Obama. I'm like, oh, it's my grandma's birthday, right? But for her 70th, we all gathered around, and this is the first time I'm seeing family members who I haven't seen and I haven't gotten a chance to know. Maybe I would have saw them when I was like a little tyke in diapers, but I never got to know them until that incident. And I remember when I was talking about with my family at the time, they said that they wanted to do this for her 70th because she's getting up there in age and you never know what day is going to be your last. That happened in 2022, or I'm sorry, 2021. And around this time I had my great grandma who was getting more and more sick. And in the back of my head, I really wanted for all my grandmas to be able to see me graduate. And it's funny because I have three, right? One of my mom's, one of my dad's, and I'm my great grandma on my dad's side. And it's funny. It's like if you walk into a casting room, right, and you see Ryan Drummond, you have Roger Craig Smith, and you have Jason Griffin, and you're like, oh yeah, Sonic, go ahead and read this line for me. Like all three just look at you. I remember that. That was me in my first grade. I would just say grandma, and like watching all three look over at me was kind of it was silly, but seeing her get progressively more and more sick, and my grandma lived alone. We would always visit, or whenever one of my family members, whenever my dad or my mom was like, all right, you going to grandma's house, like bye, and we would be over there. It was a little bit of a weird feeling, for those of you who grew up, and I'm speaking specifically to my black audience, like all 0.85 or whatever percent of you guys, that feeling of being like, it feels a little spiritual, it feels a little different, it feels otherworldly being in that presence. That's how I always felt as a kid when I had to go to my grandma's house. And eventually she ended up moving into what I call the old folks home. It was an apartment complex specifically for senior citizens. And this house I didn't really jive with, this living establishment. And I remember the thought of her, passing jumped into my head one day, right? I'm practicing getting my license and I get a call, she fell. And so I go with my mom to drive over and having to like pick her up off the ground so she can get back in her chair. That kind of stuck with me because I was probably really, I've had to help her before because she had bad legs. You get older, your body don't start rocking with you no more. And I remember, going through those motions, and eventually the conversation started to happen where, hey, she can't be by herself. Her condition's getting worse. They're still running blood tests to make sure her her cancer doesn't come back. And eventually it gets to the point where she's living with my aunt now. And I would go see her, I would check on her, but then I would watch her, have to use her walker more. She had a cane at first, a real baller ass cane. But, over time, she began to rely more on her walker. And eventually I got to watch in real time her body begin to slim down rapidly. Like rapidly. Like, and keep in mind, my grandma was always, bigger. She was, I wouldn't say she was fat, but she had some meat on her. And so having to watch in real time as her body basically, started to give out on her, it kind of hurt. But my great grandma passed. I got to watch both my grandmas be there for me when I graduated high school. I'm thinking, cool, in 4 more years, my youngest sister, she would be able to graduate, meaning, hey, her grandma or our grandma on her mom's side would be able to see all of us. And obviously by the fact that I'm talking about it today, that wasn't the case. It wasn't the case. She still got like 2 more years left, and it's just like, fuck, dude. But eventually, right, I end up visiting her because I go off to college, and whenever I'm back in town, I'll go see her for a little bit. And I'm at this point, I'm gonna say for the last 2 or so years, right, every time I've seen my grandma, it was in a hospital. It was in rehab. It was seldom ever we're just chilling at somebody's house and I see her. It was almost always in those circumstances of she got pneumonia, and because of that she had to be under care, or she fell really bad, or her blood sugar got spiked, and over time I began to have to think about it more. My freshman year of college, I had a conversation with my mom at the time, and she was like, eventually we have to acknowledge that her time could be coming sooner than we think. And that stuck with me. I'm in my first year of college. I'm thinking, you at least, give me one more, give me a couple more years, and that's cool. Even though it sounds so incredibly selfish, I just wanted her to see, the generation that was the most free from everything before, the most educated, right, the generation with the most opportunities begin to fully step into that adult world, that adult sphere. And we can go ahead and jump ahead a bit, but fast forward to August last month. For those of you who've been following the channel, I was very adamant that August was probably one of the worst months of my life, from relationship issues, a bunch of financial things, a bunch of YouTube related things, just everything that occurred in August brought me almost to my knees, right? I was exhausted, and especially having to go back into the semester, and especially being working again, it was a lot to deal with. And I went to go see my grandma, while I was back at home, on my Camarocho shit, trying to take care of what I need to. And she couldn't speak. And hospitals low-key are traumatic for me because I remember seeing my great-grandma when I was around 5, and she could only speak by writing, and just having to see someone, be hooked up to all those machines, those cables, those wires, and they can only communicate through pen and paper. As like a little 5-year-old playing football. Ironically, I was playing through Sonic and the Black Knight at the time, but just that memory stuck out so clear. And so I'm trying to talk to her. I see they got her hooked up, like I'm seeing brown fluid and like all this, and like I can't speak to her. So it felt like I was talking to a wall. that would nod their head, they would mumble something. It almost felt like I was talking to a zombie. And that especially didn't help mentally, you know, because I was basically, I was in hell. I was in hell trying to take care of what I needed to. And it wasn't good. But as you all know, the network test happened and I streamed a little bit of it. I had a couple Twitter bangers and I was like, okay, cool. Things are looking up. You know, things are looking up. I heard she got better. My mom came down and finally went to go see her. And, you know, apparently she was playing dominoes and that was cool. That was great. Great. And so this entire time she's been recovering. She's in the rehab facility. And I find out on the week before the Crossroads release, hey, because she's been dealing with pneumonia for so long, she hasn't been able to do chemo. She hasn't been able to keep up with her body, and her cancer's back. Like fucking infinite wealth ass. See, the thing is, I got cancer. But I see that, right? And I'm thinking, okay, I'm like, okay, how long does she have? They're like, they don't know, because they it's not a matter of they want to keep things themselves. You know, there's a bunch of factors involved. They just like, hey, we don't know. All right, cool. You know, I got this game I've been looking forward to. You know, the thing I was like, okay, this is gonna get me out. I'm gonna bank on this. This game is gonna like relinquish me from all of the hardship that I've been experiencing. And so we get to Monday. Monday, the game's out. I'm at work when it drops. I go to my classes. I get back home. I'm like, cool. I'm gonna hop on, play a couple games. My homie asked me to hop on Overwatch. Don't laugh in the comment section. But I hop on for a bit, and I'm thinking, okay, I'm gonna come down, and I'm gonna see what's up. So, I play one game, and I get a call. The call is saying that time is now. Like John Cena at the WWE, the time is now. They're taking her off the ventilator Wednesday. And so, in a split-second decision, I got in my car and I did the 8-hour trip back home. In the town I no longer live in. So it really did feel like Kiryu coming back to Kamurocho in every single Yakuza game, because it was like, you know, it felt different. I got to watch the city evolve, the city change, and eventually when I get there, I realized I left my laptop there. And I open it and I see the date. The date was the 23rd. Exactly 30 days before that point was August 23rd. And that was when I would last saw her. And so, you know, I'm sitting there, I'm going through emotions, I'm dealing with everything. And I'm thinking, man, you know, I got this game, you know, I'm excited for. You know, this game that, you know, this game is gonna be so great, so awesome, so incredible, so spectacular that it's gonna make everything okay. It's gonna make everything okay. I'm gonna go to the hospital. I'm gonna see what's up, and that's it. So I rest up, I link up, and I go. Like, her sisters are in town. I haven't seen them in years. I haven't seen them since that party, and so I go meet them. I interact, and then we go to the hospital. And we walk up, and you know, when I think back to Infinite Wealth and everything like that, that walking into that hospital and just looking at her, face green, she's swole, she looks way bigger, but not like way bigger as like, oh, you put on weight, but like way bigger as like something is wrong. Her mouth is like agape open. They have a tube in there. They got a towel around her. My aunt's explaining, you know, the cancer shut down, you know, basically half her body. The ventilator's breathing. A majority, right? It's doing, I think the number she gave is like 60%, right? And the day before, it was a lot more manageable. They were saying it was like 30, maybe 20, but it skyrocketed. And so I'm sitting there, or not sitting, I'm standing, right? They had me in the PPE gear, right? So I got a robe on, I got the little face mask and I got the gloves on, and I'm sitting there thinking, well, I gotta do this, and then she's telling me, you know, they gotta do this as a precautionary measure in case there's viruses in the air. And I say my things. I watch her eye twitch as I speak, and in the back, you know, the back of my mind, I'm sitting there and I'm like, I'm talking to basically a corpse at this point. I'm not engaging in a conversation in which they can respond, in which they can acknowledge what I'm said. I'm just speaking words into the void as I hear the beeps of machine fills the airway in which I would expect a response. The whole room's just dark, foreboding. And I mentioned before, I don't do well in hospitals usually, right? Especially when it comes to family matters. I usually give it about an hour. That's the time I at least make sure that's like my minimum. I'll be there for an hour. I'll talk to you, see what's up. And we were there for 15 minutes. I feel like I said what I needed to. You know, I thanked her. I told her your grandson got it from here. And then I left. And on Wednesday, I got in the car and I started back the 8-hour drive. Keep in mind, I've called out work for this. I've called out, you know, I've been out of school. And I'm just thinking, man, everything gonna be all right. Maybe this one big prank or whatever. And then I get another call, and they're asking me, how do I want the ashes? At that moment, I'm gonna keep it like I'm on the road, I'm listening to music, and so it doesn't hit. And still, even in this current moment I'm speaking right now, a week removed, it still doesn't hit. It still doesn't feel like, nothing feels real anymore. I played Sonic Racing. I've uploaded videos about that game, and it still doesn't feel real. That game, that moment, that opening statement I opened the video with is like, man, I could be playing Sonic Racing right now. Well, I'm playing it. And nothing's changed. Nothing meaningful has changed since then. I don't feel fucking anything. I paid $65 for this game and I'm having fun with the game, but the fun feels like an illusion. The fun feels like I'm experiencing a world devoid of reality. It feels like I'm running away from something, even if there's nothing in front of me. There's no ore, no presence, no nothing. No complacency, no damnation, nothing. Literally nothing. And it's a great game, don't get it wrong, but just the ambition, the expectation, the faith I put in this game to single-handedly lift me up from the position I was in did nothing. So, in truth, I don't know. I've always been told that people process things differently. Some people, I remember watching the MatPat video about The Legend of Zelda and being, you know, there's the 5 stages of grief, bargaining, whatever, acceptance, denial, acceptance, anger. And maybe, I don't know if I'm in that process or not, because I've accepted what happens. I've accepted that she's gone. And maybe it's been easier because I haven't had that full relationship with my grandma that I used to, because she's been sick for so long. It stopped being, I'm gonna go visit you and we're gonna go out to eat. It's, hey, I heard you got sick again and I came down to see you. And maybe it's just me disassociating with this world. Maybe I just need to go get a fucking therapist, but that costs money. And considering I just spent $60 on this game, I ain't got that money, bro. But I don't know. I'm gonna try. I'm gonna do what I can. This is probably the most personal video I've ever just posted to my channel. I'm not editing this. I'm putting gameplay up and I'm calling this shit a day. But for whatever reason, you know, if you sat down and you listened to me ramble for as long as I have, thank you. I don't know what I said resonated with anybody. I don't know. Truthfully, I feel lost. I feel confused. You know, I thought I had a plan. I had a vision for this YouTube thing. We broke 4K. I'm happy for that. I'm so happy. But that happiness is like just a moment. It's like a glimpse. It's like a flash. It's like a wave hits and it instantly passes one ear out the other. But I'm gonna try. I know I made a bunch of promises and I'm really bad at keeping them. I know that Sonic 06 thing. I said, you know, we break 4K. I'll play 06 on stream. That's still gonna happen. Probably gonna try for December. Might do something cool with that. I got some things I was working on. You know, I got a Splatoon video that I need to fully wrap up. I got some Call of Duty thoughts. And I you know, I want to go back to experimenting and throwing things at the wall for this channel. But I don't know. To anybody who probably saw this get clipped on Twitter and is like gonna laugh about it in the replies and like, there's no way he actually did that. I hope you fucking enjoyed. I don't know, but I'm out. I'll try to be more consistent, just as an escape. Yeah. I don't really got much else to say. So I hope you're doing well. Hope you keep yourself safe. Hope you keep your family safe, and I hope you have yourself a damn good one.